a student of history. I looked at the work of Thomas Spurgeon Page, our first speaker between 1948 and 1956. I looked at Thomas Williams, our speaker from 1956 to 1964. I looked at Zambia's first black, Wesley Nyirenda. I've looked at the work of Honorable Robinson Nabuliato, who was a very, very disciplinarian and strong speaker. He was speaker for between 1968 and 1988. I've looked at the work of Fanyanga Mlikita. I've looked at the work of Robinson Nabuliato when President Chiluba brought him back because Keke was so irritated with how he was strong. If a minister promised to bring a statement, the minister better bring a statement. Even under those difficult circumstances under Keke, the speaker was very disciplined. He didn't favor that you are a cabinet minister and you should be treated differently from the rules of the house. He ensured that there was attendance in the house, full attendance in the house. Amusa Mwamba also did a good job. You can check. And then Dr. Patrick Matibin, a lawyer, a judge, you saw the legal aspect he brought to. Now, our dear sister, Nelly Muti, I can declare that this is the worst speaker we've had in the last 6 years. If you look at the work that was done. First, you have a speaker who can't whip the house. Sometimes it's almost empty. They barely form quorum. And then look at her decisions. Look at how openly biased she is. Look at how detrimental some of our decisions. We had to have the judiciary rescue us. When the 9 MPs, were expelled from, when the 9 MPs were lost their petition in the constitution, in the electoral process, they lost at High Court level. To expel them using legal thought, even when the constitution is very clear. You cannot expel them because they have a right to appeal. Or appealed. She proceeded to expel the 9 MPs. We had to be rescued by the judiciary. So, coming to Moses Moyo, if the head is bad, the head is that bad. I saw that last week she was honored with some award somewhere. Yangu Tatae. If they looked at her record, if they looked at her open bias, if they looked at her decisions, when she was appointed, other than a previous case, I came here and spoke about it, that she shouldn't have been appointed because she had the knowledge in a huge, huge criminal case, 35 million kwacha for pensioners. And I felt that that matter needed to be sorted out. And there was a civil case in High Court. So you don't appoint someone facing such high criminal charges as speaker. For me, that was my first contention because a nolle was entered against her in 2019. And we know what a nolle is. It's not that the matters have gone away. So we said, okay, she's a woman. Mwamba, you are just being bad. Anyway, can you look at it that this is the first woman speaker? Maybe you're against gender. So, okay, we want to coalition, and the work has been a disaster. Not that she's a woman, but she's just a bad professional. She hasn't done very well as a speaker. So the misconduct of Moyo, for me, reflects a head. So until we resolve that issue, until we have a presidium that is fair, that recognizes our history. There are institutions like the judiciary. There are institutions like parliament. They're so sacred. If you have a president who's misconducting himself, you hope that you will have justice and fairness in other wings of government. Either you run to the judiciary or you run to parliament. But what we are seeing is a national disaster where all institutions are collaborating to oppress independent voices, to oppress the opposition. Hence the issues of tribalism, the issues of appointing people from same regions, the issues of making not professional decisions, but decisions that are either tribal, that are regional, or partisan. There comes a time when we need as a country to rise above these issues, have a president who makes national decisions, not tribal decisions. So Moyo, inete timu tena discuss. Honorable Brian Mundwele did very well. But I would like to urge our leader of the opposition and our members of parliament, this is our appeal and probably the directive from the party, is that we have a problem with the entire presidium of speakers, whether it is a speaker herself and the two deputies. We have to recognize that we have a crisis. Moyo is just a reflection of the deeper crisis that we have.
Mm. Well, let's now discuss the alleged return to active politics of His Excellency Edgar should state his position ASAP. And that if he intends to return to active politics, he has to follow the law. And the law in this case being that if he's been paid benefits, to which we believe he has, he needs to refund the benefits and declare his interest to return to active politics.
Yeah.
What is the Patriotic Front allegations, and also what is the Patriotic, the former head of state?
Yes. It is very sad to see the harassment that the former president is going through, has undergone through, and the first family, the former first family, since they lost power and handed over power to President Hakainde Hichilema. It's very humiliating in the manner that we treat our former president. I personally am very sensitive about issues of former presidents. You are aware that I worked for 10 years for a former president, Dr. Frederick Jacob Titus Chilwa, who was our second president of the country. So President Edgar Lungu is our only surviving former head of state after we lost President Rupia Banda and Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda just 2-3 years ago. So we must treat our president with a lot of respect. He was president for 7 years. I think he did his part. He contributed to the development of our country, and he reserves that special place as a statesman. But what has this government done is every day is humiliating him, embarrassing him, issuing terrible statements, especially the ones that come from the party. Now, those are a reflection of the president, whatever the president's views are, because he never reprimands his party for these careless statements. I'll give an example. You have a Secretary General of the party who called the foremost and most senior leader of the Catholic Church here in Zambia. He called him Lucifer. There has been no official apology from the party or the president. So if the president is not bringing his people to order, we will take that that's a position of the president. When former President Edgar Lungu goes to church, it's a crisis. When he goes jogging, it's a crisis. When he wants to travel out of the country, it's a crisis. When he escorts his wife to court, it's a crisis. What's wrong with the UPND? And let's backtrack on his benefits. His benefits are regulated by the former President's Benefits Act of 1993. It has had several amendments, including the one in, I think, 2008. The benefits accrue to you because you're former president. So you and me, Zach, can never have those benefits because we have never ruled the country. So there is a law that provides for one who should be taken care of, because as a country we recognize that we are going to have very, very few presidents in our country. In our lifetime, maybe we're just going to have 3 or 4. So we've provided for them. In fact, as a party, now that the running mate is also elected by the people of Zambia, we've called for an amendment to the former President's Benefits Act to include the vice president, that the vice president must receive similar benefits as the president or the vice president, the current vice president. Because now you have a vice president who is elected across the country like the president. They go as a team. So it is not acceptable that you should deprive the vice presidents of these benefits. So we call for immediate amendment. Trying to amend the constitution illegally. There are these matters to attend to. Can he ensure that former vice presidents are taken care of? people calling for refund of ECL. Has ECL come back to politics? No. He announced his resignation in October 2021. Nothing has changed. He has told you, like in today's newspaper, he said, if you want me to come back, I will announce if I need to. So he's in retirement. What is a crisis? The crisis is a similar situation we had with President Rupia Banda. President Rupia Banda lost elections in 2011, but he was eligible to stand in 2016. And you saw the harassment that came to him, not because he had done anything wrong, because there was a possibility that Rupia Banda could stand in 2016. That was his only crime. So we have almost identical circumstances with President Lungu. If he wants to stand in 2026, he can. It's not the PF's fault. It's a law. He's eligible. That's why you are seeing all these flurry of...
What would be the process of that he will have to undergo for him to eventually come back?
He's eligible. He can just file in his nominations, whether with the PF or with himself or with another party.
He's not supposed to refund his benefits?
Why would you refund your benefits? Why? They are being paid to him as a former president. Is he not former president? I know there was an amendment done in 2008 in 1998, sorry, I've been saying 2009. In 1998, the amendment was done in 1998. When Dr. Kaunda came back into politics, he was still getting benefits. He became UNIP president and he became a presidential candidate for UNIP. So in 1997, government decided to withhold the benefits of Dr. Kaunda, saying he has gone back to politics. But the law was very clear. Those benefits accrued to Dr. Kaunda because he was a former president. So, but there was an agreement done. I think Panji, Eric Swamba, Vijay, and others sat to persuade the old man to retire from politics. And then they amended through, I think it's a statutory instrument. There was an amendment or a regulation change, which then said Dr. Kaunda could only receive. It could have been a settlement out of that action. I think that the government was trying, because they had withheld his benefits illegally, because the law provided for you just have to be a former president. So there was that small amendment that said you should not be in partisan politics, 1998, that amendment. So I see that that's what they're trying to use by alleging that President Edgar Lungu is in partisan politics. Is he? He has resigned. Is he a PF party president? Yes, he is. But the resignation letter was very clear that the party should hold a general conference at which he will hand over the baton to whoever will be elected. Number two, he removed all his powers, gave them to the acting president, given Lubina. That's why you have an acting president, because the position itself is not vacant, but it's absent because the owner is not there really. So you have an acting president.
So somehow it still keeps him in active politics by the fact that he is president of the party on paper. Because
no, so he can still use politics. Because what is active politics? He doesn't go to by-elections. He doesn't chair central committee. We are carrying out the duties. You know,
he's probably consulted by the party from time to time.
Yes, we consult. If President Hakainde Hichilema was our friend, we're going to consult him. We consult various political parties. You've seen us on one podium with various members of the political parties.
So it's still possible to use his name on paper to easily get back to active politics. After all,
he doesn't need to. That's what I want.
Because he can still say, after all, I'm still president of the party, as the documents show. So I might as well come back easily into active politics.
Like Rupia Banda did. If President Lungu chooses to come back to politics in 2026, not you or me can stop him. It will be a personal choice. The PF can embrace him and make him a presidential candidate, or the Socialist Party can embrace him, or anyone, or the opposition front can embrace him. We don't know the circumstances. We can't tell the future. As at now, he says he has resigned. As at now, he has two people doing his duties, the Secretary General and that of the acting president. As at now, he's in retirement. Is he eligible to stand in 2026? Yes. Like I said, that's why you are seeing all sorts of people, sponsored people, trying to petition the courts to even overturn its own earlier decisions. Now that's unheard of. When a Supreme Court or Constitutional Court makes the decisions, they are fine now. They can't reopen those cases. I think people are so desperate that they even want to do the illegal. So the ridicule will not come to those that are petitioning. The ridicule would come to the Constitutional Court. For example, if it was persuaded to overturn its decision, because such a decision would be illegal, such a decision would be outside the Constitution and the law.
So what incidences are you referring to as harassment on the former head of state?
First, the verbal abuse that he suffers every day, the insults that come from the UPND. They even sponsor students, children to insult him. You saw where they went, the place where he lives. He has immunity. You have not lifted his immunity. The police can't come there. The police came there with grinders and with a bulldozer trying to break the door. You have the pictures and videos. Is that a normal way of treating a former president? He wants to go for a peace conference in South Korea. You stop him. You embarrass him. He's at the airport, his bags are checked in. You delay the flight for 2 hours because you checked in the bags.
And the government says he didn't seek clearance.
Nigerian
or
president,
notifying he didn't notify government or cabinet for that. Chief
Olusegun Obasanjo,
because this is a state property. He is state property,
Yeah.
and I think it's only right that the fact that the government is concerned that this man cannot just move about.
Yeah. So I'll
he
give you an
needs
example.
to be protected. He needs to be watched over wherever he goes.
Chief Obasanjo, okay, former president of Nigeria, was seeing President ECL just last week. You saw the pictures.
Yes.
And we don't know the details. But one of the issues is that there's just one question. Mr. President, did you seek permission from the president in Nigeria to come to Zambia? The answer is no. So class dismissed. Why do you want him to get permission? Now let's come to the serious
we have
issue.
different laws,
Yeah.
Mr. Mwamba. We have different laws from Nigeria, and we can't
Let
make
me
that
tell you the Zambian
comparison.
laws. Now, let me tell you what
Yeah.
the Zambian laws are.
Yeah.
So the Zambian laws are very clear. In the constitution, the former to these benefits, then it's followed by the former President's Benefits Act. There are trips that are sanctioned, budgeted for, and supported by government.
Yeah.
His medical trips,
Yeah.
and his annual holiday once a year. Those trips require state approval because they have expense that should be
Yeah.
incurred by the state.
Yeah.
So if the president wants to go to holiday and the state have to facilitate, he has to write a letter to cabinet office for approval.
And
Because they have to fund him.
has he?
No, is his visit to South Korea state visit? Is it one? The president, other than being a private person, today he can just jump on a plane and go wherever he wishes to go. Someone said, no, they need to know his security. He has dedicated security provided by the Inspector General of Police in accordance with the law. So if the state wishes to know, if the Inspector General of Police or whoever wants to know where President Lungu is, they have attached officers. The administrators are from Cabinet Office. I was an administrator from Cabinet Office running the office of the former president. So if they are troubled about the whereabouts of the president, the Secretary of Cabinet would call me. If it's a security issue, they hear that the president is on the copper belt, the IG can call his officers that are attached permanently to the president. So the IG is with the president. Government is with the president because of those officers. So the humiliation they're putting him through, that he needs permission, he doesn't. He needs permission. For example, on the medical review, you saw they declined. Maybe they have no money. Maybe they are using the malice to torment him by claiming that they have no money. They denied him to travel for medical. He did a letter, attached the number of officers that will go with him to South Africa for medical review, and Secretary to Cabinet bluntly refused his access to medical treatment. That is quite difficult because we have to understand the circumstances under which the Secretary of Cabinet has refused such a trip. But it's a government trip which has implications of cost on government. But if the president has been privately invited to go anywhere, why would you stop him? Why would you stop him?
I still strongly feel that, well, like you've said, malice and insults that are being showered on the former head of state are unfortunate. Yes, much as they are unfortunate, I still feel that they are avoidable. Somehow he is kind of inviting them on himself because I'll give you the Copper Belt incident, for example. And I think this is what the people are saying, that when the former head of state moves or make movements within or abroad, I think it's only right that he takes them in his private capacity. Otherwise, whenever he moves with a contingent of the entire Central Committee of the Patriotic Front, it changes things. I hope you understand. It changes the narrative because then
I have seen President Hakainde Hichilema go to commission a boho and the entire party structure turns up. Are we going to say stay away? Let just local government ministers.
It's different. It's different. That is also a party in government. That is a party in government.
Zach, let us be clear.
And remember, the debate here is
that fundamental rights.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. They are fundamental rights. Right to movement. It's a fundamental, non-negotiable right. Right to freedom of association. You can't tell the president who his friends should be, who should accompany him. He has a right to associate with anyone he wishes. He can pick a priest, he can pick Brebna Changala, or he can pick Nakachinda. These are fundamental, non-negotiable rights. So let us not even go there. He has a right to go to Ndola. He had an invitation from Ndola to host, a fundraising event, to be a guest, special guest for the fundraising event.
With the entire MCC.
Why not? Who he chooses to go with is never an issue. There are so many times I saw President Hakainde Hichilema turn up to church with 3-4 benches of his members of management.
And he was always
committee.
Refused. He was always refused.
That's not true.
He was always refused.
Come on, Zach. How many times did you hold President Hakainde Hichilema here? There's this lie that has gone that people are not allowed to speak. They didn't appear on radio. Then you use isolated incidents like the one at Sun FM or Mpika or Chipata. Over a period of 7 years, you are on radio, on TV every day. You pick one incident and Paint is not allowed to speak. They were allowed to speak. I don't know how many times I watched President Hakainde Hichilema here on Radio Phoenix or on Hot FM. Sometimes the media, moved to his house. Sometimes he went to the Copper Belt. He appeared on radio in Chipata. But the UPND want to paint a brush that we're not allowed to speak. We're not allowed to move. How many times did President Hakainde Hichilema address public rallies? How many? Where do those pictures of mass crowds come from? But when you are stopped in Chipata, then we'll use that incident to cancel all the 99 other cases that he had successful trips or successful rallies. Let us be clear. The rule of law requires that we enjoy our freedoms and rights. The rule of
Others are saying you are just testing your own medicine.
Unfortunately, a wrong remains a wrong. If the PF did it, it doesn't give the right for the UPND to repeat it. So sometimes we have a lot of children on social media who have no sense of history of our country, who have no understanding of what running a state or what the country should be, even what democracy is. So you'll have a lot of insults, you'll have a lot of this, but in perspective, this is a democracy, a constitutional democracy. A wrong under the PF. I think that's why the PF were punished. That's why the PF lost elections, because our people were displeased with certain things. For example, cadreism, arrogance, abuse of the police. Those issues, our people rejected them and then brought these people to do something different. They are worse than the PF, hence a regret. They said they'll bring down the cost of living for our people. Things are worse. They said they will create employment. Things are worse for our people. They said the police will be professional. The police are worse. They beat me. I'm an example. I'm an example. Diplomat, distinguished. I've served this country for 20 years, locally and abroad. They treated me like an armed robber.
Because
beat
you
me up.
assaulted one of them.
How can you assault 12 people?
One of them, I said.
No, how do you even assault 12 people who have come to pick you up, to literally kidnap you? I don't know who they are. They don't flash their cards. I don't know who they are. 12 people turn up at a public place and they want to go with you. They don't want you to call your wife, your lawyer, or your family. You know, so there are all these things occurring. And you say it's a test of your medicine. Then why did people reject the PF? Why did they elect you? To repeat the ills that were, because then you have not understood Zambia, why they voted against the PF. You have not recognized
I think
what Zambians,
what most Zambians feel now is that much as they booted you out of government, they expected you to remain more humble and talk less. But because you were booted out, you're not showing remorse. You are the loudest people. You're the ones that are criticizing the most, and you're poking a heart that is about to forgive you. You're poking it further.
When Donald Trump and his party lost elections, the following road. When Michael Sata lost elections in 2006, an election literally won. The following day, he held a press conference and he was back on the road for the next 5 years. That's how politics are done. For our party, we've even been slow. Because first we started with apologies. President Edgar Lungu apologized just in October 2021 at Memorial Service for our President Michael Sata. He apologized for all the mistakes that he or his associates committed. He apologized for omissions, things that he should have done and didn't do. I have apologized several times, even if I was away for the last 7 years. I apologize for our cadarism, for our political violence. I've apologized for any acts or omissions that were done. But it doesn't mean that we don't have to do our work. It doesn't mean that we don't have to criticize, provide checks and balance to this government. The duty is to ensure that they don't repeat the mistakes of the PF or any past government. We want a better Zambia. And any time lost to fail to make Zambia better is a loss to all of us. If Hichilema succeeds, we all succeed. If he's failing, if he's stealing, if he's corrupt, if he's engaged in tribal politics, it's a minus for our country. And we have to alert the country. We have to speak against ills. Are we arrogant? To my knowledge, no. Are we humble? I think we are the most humble people. Because we are being brutalized, we are being beaten, we are being denied public rallies. You heard the IMF report. You've heard other international analysis that have said this country is teetering to civil strife. If we're a careless opposition, isn't it easier to just spark that flame and bring the country down? See how responsible we are. They deny us public rallies, we stay away. They just denied Socialist Party their announced rally, advertised well in time, and notice given to the police well in time. Did Fred Memeber defy the police, even if he had capacity to? Did the PF defy the police, even if we had the capacity to? We are responsible. They are not. Just last week, the opposition parties gathered together and told the president in an open letter, Mr. President, look at the high cost of living. Look at the political tension in the country. Mr. President, you are making unilateral decisions. You can't bring AFRICOM here without cabinet and parliamentary approval. You can't bring Tony Blair and Brentes Foundation in our country without parliamentary and cabinet approval. Mr. President, the Constitution obliges you to get ratification of parliament. That's what it calls for any international agreements.
Is it
what agreement made?
Is it in the same
Blair?
Meeting that you're calling for an Indaba with him?
So
how do you call an Indaba by advancing those things in the letter, by putting them in the letter? I think for me, there's a way you call for an Indaba. Call for an Indaba really, and raise the issues when an Indaba succeeds.
No. I think if you read the letter, there are two issues.
Right.
First, the opposition leaders said they needed, if possible, to meet President Hakainde Hichilema. They recognized institutions such as the CID.
Right.
They recognized that he's been meeting some stakeholders. So they listed the emergency issues of the country. And they said, probably we meet. And another issue they called for is an economic endeavor. That's inescapable because you have a government promoting policies, economic policies that are detrimental to our country.
Response from that later.
As usual, we've got an insult. My dear brother Cornelius Mwitwa just dismissed it. He assumes it's a PF letter. He forgets that there were 11 political parties, actually 12 political parties with Golden Party. He characterizes it as an issue of the PF when it's an issue of the opposition. I loved a statement from Clayson Amasaka earlier, who gave to Daily Nation that he thinks that the president is open to either meeting the opposition and also to an economic endeavor. Just 2 days later, Cornelius Mwitwa rubbishes the issues of the meeting and the open letter to the president. And you know, that's one of their biggest crises. And we thank God of such a crisis. Because Cornelius Mwitwa will speak, you will have Tabo Kawana speak differently, you will have Clayson Namasaka speak differently. So the Zambians just see chaos because they don't speak uniformly, they don't speak without one accord, they don't speak with one voice.
Before I take phone calls, I just have a news item that just received. I mean, you know this morning, Socialist Party President Dr. Fred Memeber appeared before the Kabwe High Court in Central Province for a hearing in a matter he is alleged to have actually caused grievous harm on UPND cadres. I think you remember that. Now, this matter could not actually take place due to the fact that I think you remember the untimely death of Kabwe High Court Judge Justice Isaac Kamwendo, who passed away on Sunday this week. Okay. And that's the reason why. But the highlight of this story is the Director of Public Prosecution, DPP Gilbert Peary, was actually physically present to apply for an adjournment of Dr. Member's hearing to the next Kabwe High Court criminal session scheduled for February 2024.
Yeah, what's the DPP doing in that case? Very interesting. May the soul of the judge Kamwendo rest in eternal peace. Interesting matters. But for me, we are very clear. The harassment of the opposition is unnecessary. We are not the enemy of the president. We are not the enemy of the country. We are part of the solutions. And like I've stated, that the opposition are actually responsible. That is why they can gather and meet, and they can even advise the president that, Mr. President, can you meet us? We discuss these issues. These issues are national. They are not personal. They are not partisan. They are not reflective of who we are as political parties, but they are national in nature. That's why they can call for an economic endeavor for his Minister of Finance, Dr. Stumbeko Msokotwane and his team, to listen to other voices on the direction of this country. Why are Zambians calling for that? Because this government has done 2 years. They're going in the third year. We are remaining with 36 months before we go to next elections. And the pain caused by lack of medicines in hospitals, the lives that are every day, the pain being caused by the high cost of living, to wait for 2026. Some of these unilateral decisions will come in 2026. The unbalanced composition of the Electoral Commission of Zambia and its advisors, the things they are doing, the renewal, NRC card renewal, mobile card renewal, which we know is taking place, without adverts, and is concentrated in certain regions, and then subsequent to the voter registrations that are the continuous voter registration that is occurring. Those things are so sensitive. They go to the core of the peace and security of our country, that we want them discussed on the table. The corruption occurring at Ministry of Health, at Ministry of Education, at Energy, at Agriculture. These are very serious matters. They don't have to wait for 2026. So, Zach, I think you need to put a clap on us as the opposition. We have been extremely responsible.
My guest is Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba, who is the Patriotic Front Chairperson for Information and Publicity, as well as member of the Central Committee here on the Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue. I'm grateful that you are still tuned in. And remember, we are also live on Tuta FM on 90.7 in Mansa, and Spice FM 91.1 in Kabwe, covering Central Province, and of course, Wave FM 98.7 province. We are also live on Grindstone TV. We are also live on our Facebook page as well. That's 5FM Radio Zambia. Yes, and leave us a comment. We will definitely be reading it out shortly. Well, it's that time when we invite you, our listeners, to call in and interact with our guest on the number 0955 221515. The number again, which you are calling us on, is 0955 221515. For your messages, please send them to 0761 912493. That is either normal SMS or indeed a WhatsApp message. The number again is 0761 912493. Let's pick up this call. Good morning and welcome to the program. Your name and where you're calling us from.
Yes, sir, my dear brother, good morning.
Morning to you, thank you. Your name and where you're calling us from.
Indeed, I'm Mwamba
Mwashwuken, Zach, for our viewers.
Indeed, simple Kanyo calling you within Osaka.
Please go ahead.
Mwamba, you are not sincere with the way you are responding to questions which the moderator is asking you there. The moderator has asked you a question to say that President Lungu retired from politics. And when you look at the house which is staged there, it is being rented by government, which means he seems to be a party official. He's a state asset. But you Patriotic Front members, you have continued going to his house, and some of the party members have made it clear that this one is our candidate come 2026. And the president Lungu understands too well that he defended the letter that have resigned from active politics. Now, if he resigns from active politics, and when he goes to the registrar of society, he also will withdraw so that he is no longer the Patriotic Front candidate. Or why is he not calling for what? For a convention so that he removes his name from being active politics? As long as he continues to be the party president when you go to the registrar of society, which means he's active in politics. And now, why should we continue, Zambian people, financing CF activities on a government-rented house community? Government paying for him. So for us, that's the more reason. Even he goes to state with the Central Committee members, what is he going to do there with CF members? This is not actually politics. Look at the statements which are being issued whenever he goes with those people. So for us, you cannot play politics on us. We are able to see that what you are doing, you are playing politics. And you are going also to play in politics. Because if it truly is resigned from active politics, he should have disassociated himself from CF Front activities. This can look even when he goes to court, which means that he is still acting. So, as in conclusion, that we want to call upon the president and the MPs to ensure that they remove his immunity so that we take him on as a political opponent, and like the way he's conducting himself when it comes to Brian Mundigi. I think he has been so disrespectful to the parliament. There is no way we are.
Thank you. 955-221515. Send us your message on 0761 912493. Another call. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you both?
I'm well, thank you. Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from. Vasamu Jompa.
Good morning, my dear brother from Rufunsa.
Kambani.
Bamwamba ishimwe zokondwera abantu. Kapere mwezi okondwera mdala wanga. Chiuzeni, chipuka pati yanu mdala wanga. Ndiye amene inapaya abantu bambiri. Futi mufuna kuti chipani chanu futi chibwere futi. Nishi bantu pamene munapaya nishi banachepa. mu NMD kulibe bantu bamene banafa misamwamba kulibe ine kununataita babulu banga babiri so dead pamutu kubashuta so mweze brutalize kulibe chamino kamba hapo so start before this to me is part of the past zazabu mbule misamwamba organiza ndiye familia uenda pa radio TV wakamba ngati wagaza kuti zamani ndai nechita mumbuyo omu nikukate bekwait so misamwamba so you see kulibe pati amene misamwamba amene inapa ya bantu monga pati ya misamwamba please bantu banatega ba bread yawo so bread shake ukamba kuti ya so njara amene uona misamwamba iso zasira manje apa so chifukwa chakuti mvula sinagwe bwino country wide so misamwamba ili mimi so kuiye amefama nakuweka bimasanga nashanga tusaka kwambe usma 10 kg almost 150 kg but nakula cha 300 bags why would misamwamba ngatufuna ukamba mudala start before you talk can't so misamwamba no. Thank you, boss.
Thank you very much, Mr. One more call on 0955-22, and your messages are coming through to 0761912493. Tuesday edition of the Burning Issue. My guest is Ambassador Emmanuel Mwamba. He is the chairperson for information and publicity for the Patriotic Front, and he's the member of the Central Committee. Let's take this call. Good morning. Hello, good morning.
Good morning, Zach.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm better than you. Good morning, Mr. Mwamba.
Good morning. Good morning, my brother.
Yeah, this is Comrade Mkosa.
Comrade who?
Comrade Mkosa.
Comrade Mkosa from the UPND Alliance. Yes, my brother.
Please go
ahead.
No,
I'm not from UPND. I'm a Patriotic Zambia.
Oh, okay.
Please go ahead.
Comrade Mwamba, I just want to remind you, when you as PF, you talk about you coming back, to me, it is an insult to the intelligence of the Zambian people. Because the way you in this country, it was something like it, which no one can think of you coming back. Like my brother from Lufunsa has mentioned, you never cared about the life of the Zambian people. You allowed your cadres to brutalize the Zambian people, stealing from the poor marketeers. He was calling himself as a sick cadre. Instead of him keeping his advice, he was there promoting. Even the issue of Memeber that you are talking about today, you don't want to tell the Zambian people that from the time we got independence, the farmers that has been producing food to the Zambian people have been living in poverty. Now we have a government that wants to develop each and everybody. When it comes to Kungani Agankaride, even farmers must enjoy, must feel the benefit of them being farmers. That's why they managed to put the price of maize at 280. Make sure that even the farmers themselves, they benefit. It is the consumer that has been benefiting. Fuel. You are very much aware that at the national market, fuel is expensive. When you were selling fuel at 17 quarter, it was at $42 per barrel. But now it is at $100 per barrel. So how can you compare such scenarios? Really, Mr. Mwamba, even if you want power, sometimes you need to be ashamed to say if really is the Zambian people going to vote us back the way we treated them, the way we manage our country, you destroyed the economy, everything was on opposite, on negative.
Thank you very much.
You want to come and say that you want to come back. I think you need to be ashamed.
Thank you, Mkosa, for coming, and we are grateful. Now, let me pick one more, and then I let you respond Good morning.
Good morning, Zach.
How are you today?
And good morning. Thank you. Good morning, Ambassador Mwamba.
Good morning.
Madam Mumbipiri, right?
Yes, this is Mumbipiri calling you from Chongwe.
MCC, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. You have spoken very well. Inechon defo afyo kulanda chakwe bati. Mwamba, imwena inoko nafuma kumushito dati. Ngole itamumbwe. Ishini wo muita. Yonsolera ndate mumbo yali hapa. Mumbo yali hapa. Ishini wole muita. Ushkumo mumbo yo wita akesa. Why do I say so? Ababa UPND. What's the procedure of a former president retiring from active politics? What I know as per constitution is you write a letter, and the President Edgar Lungu did that. When this debate started, it was confirmed by Patrick Kangwa, who is the government secretary to the cabinet, the senior civil servant. But ingamwamone finto for Fidea, Bamtarena Lumango, our Minister of Justice, who is our custodian of our laws, what do they want him to do? Is this why we have seen Mwamba, you are very conversant with these things? Under normal circumstances, when Wakaunda retired, we saw government giving him vehicles, and they were registered GRZ1. When Rupia Banda retired, he was given vehicles and office, GRZ1 and everything. Have you seen that happening to Walungu? And they are confusing themselves. We're supposed to establish the office of the former vice president, which you as Mwamba, you had the privilege to work in under Frederick Chiruba. Is Lungu supposed to establish that office, or it's the government of the Republic of Zambia? Mwamba, from what I know, Ababa UPND, they don't believe at Walungu, but retire, besides him writing a letter to them as per our constitution. That's why Taraba Terama Motoka. Me, I don't think even that salary is much top salary they didn't give him. They haven't established an office for him. It doesn't go for holiday per year as established by our constitution. Now it's even being refused to go for medical checkup. But it's routine medical checkup, which even me Kambuanga Mumbi does. That's why Mwamba inena limonati ababantu ebale itaba lungu atkababwele fie. That's why you hear me say that. And kwa chimbwi ngole muita kumwensu ishino muita to come back into politics. But otherwise, continue talking. We are listening. And this fuel, which is directed to the PS, as I conclude, how can the PS do something about the fuel price when the Minister of Finance has already told us that they can't bring back the subsidies? No, but the problem we have in this government, the President just like he talked about PCP, Minister of Agriculture, now my instructions. You within 48 hours, do they do that? Even the IG has the guts to ignore what the President is telling him. So in short,
before you go, Madam I mean, your cause, which were obviously on record, the magistrate court, when you can suffer with the people, were irresponsible as a senior party. They were seen irresponsible on the head of state, and you are giving him unnecessary, unwise pressure. What's your comment?
That's my opinion. Am I not a Zambian citizen? I'm entitled to my opinion. Nobody can stop me from that.
So do you still stand? Do you still stand by that?
I still stand, and it has just started gaining the momentum. But ngavaka nini na balungu, whoever is going to give us, nganiba Mwamba, nganiba Mbwiri, nganiba Mutoto Kafwaya, nganiba Greyfort Monde, in the bigger picture is PF, not individuals. Our government campaign with them fully, but as it stands, they are supporting Wakambwiri. They should also respect how I feel. This is a democracy.
Thank you, Mom.
Thank you, bye-bye.
Thank you, Mayo. Thank you very much, Ashish.
Right. So
she's done very well and supported my work. But let's start with the first.
Yes, let's respond. I just have one message, though. Let me give it to you. I mean, okay, good morning by Emmanuel Mwamba. You are speaking very well. We're behind you, sir. The UPND has no direction. It's a Chipante government. This is Chipo Hamu Yahi. He further goes on to say, please don't mind people like those frustrated UPND members with no direction. We are campaigning on the ground. Come 2026, PF will come back. That's Chipo. I just thought I should squeeze that one in and then respond. Then we'll pick some more messages.
Yeah. No. You know, I never take to heart any negative calls that come in. As a media expert myself, I know that you can manufacture opinions. You can pay radio callers, you can pay bloggers, you can hire media influencers to peddle your view. But that's never a view of the people in many times. So it doesn't matter how many they send to call in and present a false narrative. The Zambian people, the truth, and you cannot fool them. But however, I'll take time to answer him. He says, if the former president is retired, why do we see PF cadres there? Maybe they are using state money to pay PF cadres. All I saw people around the former president, President Kaunda, were usually of Central Committee was with former leaders. These are your associates. The many people I saw around Dr. Chiluba, in many cases, they were ministers, they were former MPs, or the current MPs. I remember that even a deputy minister under Mwanawasa, Honorable Dalton Sokontwe, was fired because he used to come to see Dr. Chiluba. And Mwanawasa wrote a letter to him, stop him from coming to see Dr. Chiluba. And he responded, Mr. President, this man is my leader. I see him as a family member. You can't stop me from seeing him as a family member. And the following week, after that, late Honorable Dalton Sokontwe, who was Chamber MP, was fired. So you cannot stop the people around seeing the former president. And like I said, these are fundamental rights that you can't infringe on. Some jumper from Rufunsa, he says, why do the PF want to come back? They want to come back to kill more people. I've always put on my page that picture of the president, President Hakainde Hichilema saying, then he lists the people. Maybe the president is instigating us also to begin listing PF members that were killed at the hands of the UPND. You saw there was a cadre in Livingstone killed by a group led by Honorable Gary Nkombo. You remember that Gary Nkombo was actually arrested for murder. You know, he was acquitted by the court after a preliminary inquiry, but others were convicted of that murder. It was a PF cadre. You saw a PF cadre that was killed during the Chongwe by-election. I think there was a by-election when our MP resigned and went into foreign service. We lost a cadre there. Just before the 2021 elections, you saw 2 Kanyama youths that were beaten by a horde of UPND cadres and killed them. The records are there. The famous issue of Jackson Kungu, that should have called for the nullification of election, because Jackson Kungu was member of the Central Committee. He was in charge of Northwestern Province, and UPND cadres, killed him in broad daylight. Should we be listing? There was the UPND list. We have the names of the people that were killed under the hand of the UPND. Will that take Zambia, ahead? For us, we think that these matters should be behind us. Let's build a Zambia that is better. Comrade Mukosa who I said belongs to the UPND Alliance, but he says he's a private person now. He says the meal prices is because the economy was destroyed by the PF. Now, Zach, this is a narrative the UPND want to impose. You have seen at the opening of National Parliament, the president said, we found empty coffers, we found a broken economy, we found a damaged economy. You've seen the Minister of Finance repeat, even cite things they didn't find. What did they find? The Minister of Finance said they found the exchange rate at 23 kwacha. You know, it's a total lie. The exchange rate on 11th, before elections, was at 15. By the time President Hakainde Hichilema took over on 24th, it was at 16, 17. And I have provided the actual exchange rates from banks on my page several times. But the UPND believe that they found an exchange rate at 23 kwacha. So it doesn't matter what I say, their president will repeat. It doesn't matter how much evidence you give them. Yes, there was a time, I think in July, when the exchange rate went to 22 point something in July. But you know, you saw Bank of Zambia intervention and the exchange rate by the time we're going to elections. And that was a huge factor. Remember, there was an announcement by the IMF that they had given us $1.3 billion for as COVID relief that they gave special drawing rights to every member of the IMF. So there was that huge injections of money, and the exchange rate responded. When they took over, the exchange rate was at 15, 16 kwacha, but they believe it was at 23 kwacha. No matter how much you say, they will not listen. This president found maize grain reserves of 1.5 million metric tons and the 3.2 metric tons of harvest coming. They found foreign reserves of $3 billion. Are those empty coffers? Wasanga mataba bali kulimina bali bika na harvest imbileisa. Wasanga bali kusungira muchipao $3 billion import cover for 4 months. They say, then you say you took over a damaged economy. You say you took over an empty coffers. You have no load shedding because this previous government invested in power generation capacity, whether it was in Itej, Kafio, Gojloa, or Kariba South Bank. You no longer have load shedding. In fact, you know, our national consumption is around 2,200 megawatts, and now we have generation capacity of 3,500. You have at every time capacity to export power up to 1,000 megawatts. You say you found the damaged economy with all, you found fuel at 15 kwacha, you've taken it to 20 to 30 kwacha. You found milimi at 120 kwacha, you have taken it to 320 kwacha. You found electricity connection was 700 kwacha, you've taken it to minimum 7,700, and in many cases, people are paying 13,000 and 21,000 kwacha. Who has damaged the economy? Who has damaged the economy?
Let me take you through the couple of messages that have come through. This one is from Sakala from Matero. We don't need PF to come back. We don't need cadres. We don't need corruption like firefighters, ambulances, expensive medicines. People were killed like chickens. We don't need crazy criminals to come back to power. So let me give you another one. Ambassador Mwamba, when are you going to hold a convention? People want you on the ground. You are holding them in suspense. I need your hopeful comment on that issue, Davis, of within Lusaka. What is it that the PF want to do now, which they did not do for the past 10 years? They were, for the past 10 years that they were in power. The problem we are going through now, it's because of you and your party members. Mr. Mwamba, tell the Zambians the truth. I am Pius Masumba from Chisamba. Thank you very much, Pius. Quickly, let me give you another one. Good morning, Zach and Ambassador Mwamba. My word of advice to the PF party and the former president is that respect is earned. If, for example, you insult a child in public and they insult you back, who is wrong? Mr. Lungu is clearly provoking the government in power by the way he portrays himself out there. The Bible also says, do unto others what you would want them to do unto you. Don't forget that. Be remorseful, and as you are trying to rebrand, be humble. Some of us get heart attacks or heartaches just when we hear someone mention PF because of what we passed through. Thank you. This is Sibongile. Thank you very much, Sibongile. Let me give you one more. If you need to react, please do. Morning, the panel. On my opinion, people may still love PF, but to return the same leadership is a mistake. People are trying to forget what the former regime, how the former regime ruled this country. The best thing for me is let the PF go for convention and choose a leader before it's too late. From Simon Kawetown. Response on those.
Vincent Mwale says it doesn't back. He says it doesn't want crazy criminals back. Well, as an opinion, everyone has an opinion. We respect his opinion. This gentleman says, when are you having the conference? You are right. We have scheduled the constitutional conference to precede the general conference at which we'll elect our leader. There have been logistical, legal, and other issues that have delayed it. I think it might require more time, but be patient. We are determined to hold this. I think we might have a central committee meeting at the month end. The Secretary General will inform us, at which we'll again discuss this matter so that we schedule it. Then we have Pius Masumba, who says, why should the PF come back? What do they want to do, which they didn't do then? Let me just remind Pius what the PF did. The PF built roads. The PF built bridges. The PF built airports. The PF built dams. The PF built hospitals, mini hospitals, teaching hospitals, clinics, and health centers. The PF built power projects so that you don't have load shedding. Look at that brilliant foundation and work. Why did the PF get booted out despite working? Their PR was bad. Two, they allowed the story of the opposition to still. They allowed UPND to tell them that they are corrupt, they are killers, they are violence, and it stuck. And the PF itself didn't help with the issues of violence, for example, elections. So the PF lost elections on peripheral issues. The work that has been done by the PF in the last 10 years, I think can only be compared by the first 10 years of Dr. Kaunda in this country, because infrastructure was falling apart. And we expected President Hakainde Hichilema to build on what we had left. Look, we started with township roads, city roads. We started with some trunk roads, but there are major trunk roads that have to be done. For example, we had procured under Africa Development Bank the Chinsali Nakonde Road. Although it was procured in 2015, it's only being built now in 2022. So sometimes processes take a long time. I remember even the Greatest Road up to Mwamba border was also procured a long time ago, I think early on in 2011, and construction only began and ended around 2019, 2020. So there are these things that the PF were doing that were long term. And like I say, they lost elections, not because they didn't work. Respect is earned. I agree with you. As former President Dr. Edgar Chagwa Lungu done anything that should provoke government? Why should they be annoyed when he goes jogging? Why should they be annoyed when he turns up at church? Why should they be annoyed which is trending, or whoever is playing music? Even now when we go down, you find someone alemba. Why should they be irritated and annoyed when the president sings a song? So we always tell the UPND, your enemy or your political opponent is not Edgar Lungu or the PF, it's the people of Zambia. Attend. Before I learn into Zambians, the recruitment you do under government is not employment. Allow employment to be created. Those recruitments are important, but that's not job creation. Allow job creation to take place in the country. allow cost of living to come down, allow poverty. By the way, the numbers are very, very bad. Numbers provides no hope for this government. First, inflation rate has jumped now back to double digit, 12%, and even in next year it will be 12%. Poverty levels have risen. They were at 54%, they are now at 60% national average. And the West Poor provinces, Muchinga now taken over from Western Province, is at 82%. All the parameters are bad. The exchange rate, is stuck around 21, racing to 22. And there is no solution in sight. We can do better. We have proposed solutions. We have proposed answers to the crisis that the country is facing.
Let me take a few phone calls as well on 0955221515. Good morning.
Good morning.
Your name and where are you calling us from?
My name is Imane Musukwa.
Your name again? Sorry.
Imane Musukwa.
Okay, please, Madam Musukwa, please go on.
Good morning, Mwamba.
Good morning, my dear sister.
Yes. Simbira bamene mukambo wa Mwamba. And then I think about UPNC lama Ivana pari ba Edgar Lungu. Who started calling ba Edgar Lungu? Ni ba Muitwa. Ba Muitwa is the one who started. That's a video ba Edgar Lungu weze kugade ni wagula mazeti temple. That's why the Minister of Information started talking about Edgar Lungu. Nchito ni garden. Watu wanda bonse wantu kama pari ba Edgar Lungu. Ba UPNC. They're the one who started it. Now, manja police rene lake bamboja Edgar Lungu. No, they lake njema na iambisa. All of that come even in terms of the violence to Edgar Lungu. Anapaya. Even though those people, my guys, like Jawafanyama, Uda Kungwana, is what a Zambiani. Okay, Lawrence Band, the commissioner and get a and they could see Mupai, the commissioner and get a Chinese. We need all those things to find out what really happened. What made him go to Nanu? Lawrence to go there, to come for a PF, not to come back and come back. You want to kill people, you want to kill them. Even the same freedom. Even now, freedom. We don't manage now PF, MMG, even until today. I still have that. I read the cinema goals. Even now, you are just find out background. Not just listen to one side. No. Even you guys nowadays, I'm Zambia, but you're not doing your job. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your call, Madam Musukwa. We appreciate, and let's take another one. Good morning.
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Your name and where you're calling us from?
You are talking to Comrade Sri Chilonda of the Republic of Zambia.
Mr. Chilonda, please go ahead.
Yeah. Good morning, Comrade Emmanuel Mwamba, PF aspirant candidate.
Good morning, sir.
Yes. For me, I think, first and foremost, issue which is raising the dust in our country, first and foremost, talking about cost of living. I think it is on course because we are aware that we are still facing challenges. Talking about cost of living today, talk about middle class, fuel, and exchange rate. These three issues has making Zambia difficult of life. But the president who is there at State House is an economist. Value fixed it is only on the way. But because some people they are saying if your child is crying for hunger, what take up of beans, which is now taking time. You want to create a long-term economy, not a short-term whereby people are using it to put money, pumping money into Bank of Zambia. Short-term, dollar, umbrella, short-term, it goes up. So it's creating a long-term. But we are not saying supporting this pain Zambia facing. We have this pain is affecting each and everyone, citizen. So for us, I think we want that you fix it. Last issue is that I'm listening. Madam Mundipiri say to come back. I think for me, don't encourage the former head of state and don't put him into politics. For me, go to convention. You are 10 on the 9. You go to convention, you choose a president. And those who are surrounding President Edgar Lungu to push him, that he come back. We have seen it before. We have seen Enkaunda in 1996 wanted to come back. Lupia Banda wanted to come back. So for me, I think this is a waste of time. Just go to convention and thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chilonda, for that. Let me take one more call and then you respond, Mr. Mwamba. Good morning.
Good morning, Zach.
How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Your name, madam, and where are you calling us from?
I'm calling from Chongwe. My name is Mary Matera Shoga.
Mary from Chongwe. Please go ahead,
Yes.
madam.
Mwamba mwabuka chani.
Mayo balishani mnishani chongoko.
Chongwe tukulise laka.
Wonderful.
Mkwanyeni Matera Shoga. Nyoko ninganda kwa Mwamba. Itoko mlianda kile mkwika. Nyoko ninga mwiba koke. CF ya makale mupawa. Apata painete ya kukwera futi ba Mwamba. Ngatu waibukisha PF ole ali mupawa kumwachikile ba PF. Vingi sana. Mwamona? Mwali kugasinga. Mwali amakada mtauni. Abale police etisa pato abale ibira abantinda matauni mu makada. Kyonse kingi abantu bali kwire sana. Mwamona? So PF kukwera. Ba Mwamba kula bakopi. Imo ba Mwamba po muli apo mupati mwente banufwaye. Mwamona? Tabanufwaye mu mpati mwenye. Isto mukwete mwe. Ya kukolonga nikapati yenu. Nokuya convention. Mwasale ntungurushi. Mwamona? Imamu iposa amano kuli UPND. UPND ile bomba. Mwamona? So imoto mufire te mwakonga nikabantu benu. UPF uko kutwala kitashani. Mwakwe unaku apologize kuvena charogo mwale teka. Pio kitatuwa temine. Mwamona? So imamu iposa amano kuli UPND. Lekeni UPND bombe ya abantu. UPND ya shitamu kubomba abantu. Mwamona? Yoti ngoko mwale bomba. Tatu wakasumine kwewe na Zambia kuti UPF uwele mpawa. Tata fire atwaikero mutende ukutuma mamariketi kwa makada ngatuwaisa katundu kuinta situ kutipoko shora indra meshiri show anawe pero muntu akuleka posa kama no kubomba afa indra mabuno kuno kubomba tuteka wetika mpiyefu tatu akasumine kwewe na Zambia piyefu kubwira mombe bwi
Atotera mkwaiba Mary for that
Let me answer
contribution. Yes, please.
So Madam Iman Musukwa says it's a UPND that keep on talking about President Edgar Lungu, and she is right. Every time the president opens his mouth, whether it's in Chingola, in Chilawombwe, in Kanyama, he talks about the president. Maybe the prophecy will come to pass. Why do they talk about the former president? As a communications expert, I used to advise the PF. Why are you always talking about Hichilema? You are forcing Hichilema in the minds of people. Because you go on national television to condemn Hichilema, people will hear. And I used to give an example that there was a program, Stand Up for Zambia, by Chanda Chimba. Every night he was lambasting Michael Chilfiasata. He had no idea that that program had a positive effect because people in there were seeing Mr. Sata, no matter how negative you painted him, that have campaigned for the PF is a UPND. Even now, notice any speech to be done, PF or Edgar Lungu will be in the forefront. So for me, they are doing a very good job. So my word, I'm Msukwa, lekeni wale tushita promote, kama tushita ban pa ZBC tatu, monekela pa ZMBC, bateba tulanda polionse. And ngababe pa bantu ebalanda chao, na ngumule wepo ubunga wadi so muli wa PF. Na ngumule wepa, utengo wafio wadi so muli wa PF. So you can't fool Zambians. So they're campaigning for us. Comrade Sichilonda says President Hakainde Hichilema is an economist and is taking long-term solutions that will heal this country. And he gave an example of exchange rate that the PF just used to pump money at the exchange rate for it to be stable. This government is worse. Their own governor announced that for 2022, they had used $4.3 billion to stabilize the foreign exchange market. And just this year, they've released a lot of money to stabilize the exchange rate. In fact, if you look at the data figures by the Minister of Finance, the foreign reserves have dropped from $3.1 billion is now at $2.7, $2.8 billion. Why? Because they are using foreign reserves to attempt to stabilize the foreign exchange. Even at 21 kwacha is still artificial because there's a lot of cash injection from Bank of Zambia. So, Comrade Chilonda, in fact, many economists are disappointed that they've a president who's an economist and whose economy is doing very bad. We have a teacher in Kenneth Kaunda who did a better job. We had Frederick Chiluba, who was a trade unionist, who did better, probably one of the best presidents this country has ever had, because he laid the foundation of what you are seeing. You had Edgar Lungu, a lawyer, who did far better than this economist. So, Comrade C. Chilonda, probably you live in another country. If you live in Zambia, in fact, the joke is on the president, that we have an economist who's failing to handle the economy. Aba Kuchongwe were married that should not allow the PF to come back. Well, it's our opinion, and she has a single vote, and we respect that opinion and the single vote.
Let me quickly give you messages which, as we wind up, because we will be concluding just after these few messages, but quickly. Good morning, Zach, and good morning, Ambassador. For me, I just wanted to remind the UPND that when they talk about the people who died during the Patriotic Front, they actually should also be reminding themselves on the blood which was shed in Mapatizia via the Mapatizia formula. We also lost it there, and we also get the pain. Let's not be forgetting and think they are angels, okay? This is Sichi. Sichi further says, the UPND are the ones dragging ECL in the politics to make Zambians stop concentrating on the cost of living. Let them just ignore ECL and just do the work, please. All right. I will quickly give you another message. Good morning. PF shall never come back to power. Mwamba, he just knows how to talk, but he sugarcoats everything. All right, we didn't get the name to that message, but we're grateful that you did. Let me give you this other message. This one is from Mapulanga Kalungu, who is sending this message from Chirilabombwe. Bamwamba, people are suffering, okay, and asking you to work together with Socialist Party, Zambia Must Prosper, Sean Tembo, Savoy, Silavwe, and PF, and form a formidable pact. Have you made any move in that regard, consideration in that regard? What is the procedure, he asks again, what is the procedure for removing the immunity? Does the former president have any official office? What emolument is the government giving President Edgar Chagwa Lungu? This is Maplanga from Chiwombo. Thank you very much for that. Let the guest comment on the appointment of the Auditor General. I don't know who sent in that, but thank you very much. I think those are the messages that I would want you to
let me attend to them quickly before we go to wind up. Yes.
Yeah.
Let me start with the last one. The appointment of the Auditor General is, and we've urged President Hakainde Hichilema to withdraw this nomination. There are a lot of qualified people in our country that can take up the position.
Explain the illegality.
Yeah, the position is so sensitive, so critical, that number one, it calls for a Zambian minimum the age of 45. Minimum. So no matter how qualified you are, no matter how much experienced you are, I've never seen a job that requires entry point at 45. This is one of them. The code puts a minimum. You have to be at the age of 45. And because of the intensity of the work, it caps it at 60. So our Auditor General is 64, so he's disqualified by virtue of his age. So we the president, they can keep him as a deputy, because on the deputy, I think he's silent on what age a deputy can be. But the Auditor General requires to be minimum 45 years and above, 60 years below. That's a illegality. So the president, as many Zambians, he should engage the professional bodies. They'll give him very qualified people that can manage that office. Mapulanga Kalungu, because he's been very consistent, I've seen his writing. He wants the opposition to come together, to work together. But Mapulanga, what we need to do first, we need to strengthen ourselves. For example, the PF needs to go to conference, rebuild and rebrand and make its party strong. The Socialist Party needs to do the same. Zambia must prosper. Honorable Kalaba, you need to allow these parties to be strong in their own right, so that by 2025, 2026, then when they're coming to the table, they are bringing something to the table. Because if you allow weakness to come together, you actually have just created a weak alliance. In my view, we should encourage parties to rebuild themselves, be strong before they can come together. It's not as simple as that. Just all of you come together and let's go to elections. This gentleman says Emmanuel Mwamba sugarcoats everything. No, my brother, I say the truth. I don't know where the sugar is when I tell you that fuel was at 15 kwacha and 17 kwacha, and now it's at 30 kwacha. I don't know where the sugar is there. If I tell you that Milimi was at 120 kwacha, now it's at 320, where is the sugar there? He doesn't like the truth. If I tell you that we've invested in generation capacity that has gone from 1,600 at the time, because we had a constant shortage of about 700 megawatts, to now a surplus of over 1,000, 3,500. Where is the sugar there? If I tell you that the PF built infrastructure, Kenneth Kaunda Airport doesn't exist, the Lusaka roads, they don't exist, Mwamboshi Dam doesn't exist, the 650 health posts do not exist, the 99 mini hospitals do not exist, the 65 district hospitals do not exist. My brother, what is the sugar there? What am I sugar coating? Just love the truth, that's all. It might be painful, but accept it. This one says ECL is a UPND that are dragging his name. I agree with you. Every day, there's someone talking about Edgar Lungu. Nabalefo kumula wataba mulave. Kalba UPND bari ingile nchito. Ewa campaign manager wakwa Edgar Lungu na PF. So we welcome that. This one, the first one said we should remind the UPND of the bloodshed. Like I stated, there are many people that died at the hands of the UPND. That's why I even cited famous cases like that of Gary Nkombo, where he was arrested for the murder of a PF cadre in Livingstone. We need to say those things because the UPND appear pious, appear they want to present themselves that the PF was so brutal, when political violence is a problem in our country, including the UPND. If you see how a young man, Jackson Kungo, taken like that, who killed Jackson Kungo other than the UPND Kungo? So whose life is that? So when they remind us of the list of their people that were killed, we should also remind them of the people they killed. Where will healing take place in this country? So Zach, as we begin to conclude, we have solutions. They do not have. You've given them 2 years. They think that the IMF and foreign investment will resolve the economic crisis, and it has demonstrated that it can't. They plan very small. Look at the budget. They're looking at, first, they dropped in 2023. Economic growth from 4.7 has dropped to 2.7%. And the budget by December, in January, the economic growth will jump to 4.7%. How? What factors will you put in place? What have you done that will generate this economic growth? So they have no options. They plan very small. They've bungled the agricultural sector that has been a backbone for our national food security and food security for the region. Zambia feeds Congo. Zambia feeds Angola. Zambia feeds Malawi. Zambia feeds Tanzania. Zambia feeds Botswana. They have bungled 2 years in a row, going into the third year, the agricultural sector. A plan existed that could be done. The economic blueprint, the economic policies that they've embarked on are disastrous to our country, and they've taken our country far back. And they love to celebrate Jack. We need to remind them In 2021, they went on air for weeks how the IMF program succeeded, how PF failed and how they had succeeded. Almost 3 years, the IMF deal has not been concluded. It's a 38-month program. We have done over 24 months, and they've only released 300 million out of the $1.3 billion, where the credit that they are hopeful that these meetings that are taking place in Marrakesh in Morocco for the World Bank and IMF, that Zambia can sign the debt reschedule, that probably an MOU may be ready. So this is committee is saying we hope that by the time the meeting is taking place next week, that there could be maybe an MOU of agreement. But the UPND made you think that they had resolved the debt restructuring problem. They even factor it in their national budget, like they did factor the IMF money in 2021 and 2022. So the opposition, we have solutions and proposals. When we call to meet the president, when we call for a national economic endeavor, we are saying there are alternative solutions to how and what they are currently pursuing.
Ambassador Mwamba, thank you very much for coming and for sparing time to be with us and share with the citizens
Zach, just
around.
allow me for a minute. I don't know how this escaped me. There's a document that has come from Ministry of Tourism where the Attorney General has given technical advice to the ministry that operators in national park, game parks, and protected areas will be paying levies fees to local authorities in those areas, which these areas pay land rates and other fees to Livingstone Council.
Yeah.
Now the Attorney General has stated in his document that those entities should not pay to local authorities. This is a very, very bad development. It takes away.
Who should they pay to instead?
Because of the minimum fees they pay to Ministry of Tourism for licenses.
Yes.
They are saying those are sufficient. They are not sufficient to do infrastructure. The work that, for example, Livingstone does to handle the millions of tourists, the hundreds of thousands of tourists that come to Livingstone. Why should you allow only the money to go to Sun International and also not to the local authority? This judgment is unfair. And I think that we'll be tabling it before ourselves. We might have to pursue this decision further. It's illegal. As usual, this government is a government of the rich. They pursue benefits for the rich. Imagine if mines refuse to pay levies and land rates to Solwezi, saying we pay mining license fees to Ministry of Mines, so we shouldn't pay. So again, it's a government decision that benefit the rich, that benefit these foreign entities, and the bulk of them are not even owned by Zambians. And you are depriving already cash-strapped local councils from money. So we condemn this recent action. If you don't have a document, I can pass it on to you. It's a recent decision by the Attorney General. It was circulated to local government, to local authorities, and it is now a public document. We think that this action should be condemned.
Thank you once again for coming.
Thank you very much. And thank you to 5FM and to management and to you, our able host. And thank you to the callers, including those from the UPND.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we had. Emmanuel Mwamba, who is the Information and Publicity Chairperson of the Patriotic Front and member of the Central Committee. We'll certainly be back again on Thursday with the Thursday edition of The Burning Issue. Thank you also to our partner radio stations, Spice FM in Kabwe, and of course, Tuta FM in Mansa, and Wave FM in Mazabuka. We'll be back on Thursday. From us, is take care of yourselves and more so of each other. Bye-bye.
Tune in next week for another